cream will rise to the top. Oh yeah, brother.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, and what do I have here? Early bird gets the worm. I've been trying to get my hands on this Speer Gold Dot in 5.7x28mm. This is a 40 grain jacketed hollow point for quite some time now, but I have been unable to get it during COVID-19. I saw it pop up on Gunbroker and opened up my wallet and bent over and purchased 250 rounds for our testing. We'll throw this guy on the table and see what we're going to do for testing today. Since the 5.7x28mm is our forte here over at the range, we have a multitude of barrel lengths to test today. We have our OEM 1456, not too bad. I think they claimed 1,800 feet per second. Let me fire a couple more rounds out of this. I think I was just aiming a little too high. Not bad. A little faster than SS197, but really that's probably where SS197 should be loaded. From what I can tell on this box, Fiocchi is still the loader for this ammunition, even though it's from Speer. Fiocchi has the US contract and they do all the loading for 5.7, at least that I'm aware of. And now our Ruger 5.7, we just finished up the review on this. Hopefully that review will post before this. If not, you'll see it sometime. This has a 4.94 inch barrel. We have 20 round magazines. We have the F5 manufacturing 5 round extensions on there. See if we get, there we go. So far we're getting good function out of this. Now obviously I only have 250 rounds and that is not usually a definitive test when I put 10 or 20 rounds through one gun. So you always want to check these loads when you get them for your gun, but I'm trying to give you a good sample size for how these are going to work over the different platforms. And now our CMMG MK57, this is CMMG's dedicated 5.7 upper. It uses the radial delayed blowback. This has their proprietary 40 round magazines. You have the 8-inch 1-in-9 twist barrel. Got the Yankee Hill single port QD muzzle brake up front. Got a Burris QD mount with a primary arms 1-6 on here. This is on my SBR lower. Short and sweet. Pretty good velocity there. We'll check the brass. The radial delay blowback's known for stretching the neck out a little further, so I'll go try to find that brass and check it out. And now one of our most iconic 5.7 weapons. This is our FN PS90 SBR. This is my own personal firearm. We have the primary arms Cyclops 1X up there. I replaced the older USG black ring sight because the tritium was starting to die in it. And I did have the REM T3B on there for illumination, but I feel the 1X Cyclops gives a lot better field of view, especially new shooters come up and shoot this. You can see in the optic a lot better than the factory one. And the ACSS reticle works pretty well for being an etched reticle. Now, from what I remember reading first on the Speer 5.7, was that it wasn't going to work or wasn't recommended in the PS90, so we'll see how it goes. If I flip the cap up there. Sometimes she gives us a hiccup when she's cold. There we go. Perfect, I think. Oh. We had one no-go there. Bullet got pushed down a little bit. We'll load a fresh round in there. This could just be because my gun needs to be cleaned. It doesn't sometimes like the heavier rounds unless they're going a little faster than this. There we go. Continuity error. Hey everyone, we're reshooting the 16-inch velocity test of the PS90 because I thought we had a bad magazine. I have a new magazine here that I've never used. We ran some American Eagle TMJ through it before shooting this and it ran okay. It just stumbles a lot, I think, because the 40 grain needs a little more oomph in this 16-inch. I apologize about the rain. This 16-inch is on loan from Man Cave Specialties. They do a lot of the cool aftermarket aluminum parts for our PS90, like the extended charging handles, the extended magazine release back here. He does polymer and aluminum hammers that mimic the Gen 1 for reduced pull as well. So big thanks to Mike for loaning this for our testing. See how many of those didn't want to go. Maybe. Get out of the bag. I just think the 40 grain needs a little more oomph with the longer barrel. We'll fire a couple more through there to make sure we got 10 good ones. We have 10 from the prior day, but you know, just to make sure we got good consistent numbers. Seems to be about the case, a little over 2,100 feet per second. Oh no, I'm getting wet. I think that should be it. We're using our Ruger 5.7 at 21, 22 feet. We were holding right here. I don't really have those sights dialed in very well, but the American Eagle TMJ was the lowest point of impact versus point of aim. Our 197, 198, and the gold dot all seem to be in the same general area, We'll step this target back to 25 yards to check the accuracy out of the MK57, and we'll check the point of aim versus point of impact there as well. Here is our CMMG with the 8-inch at 25 yards. You can see the American Eagle TMJ, which is the slowest of these that we tested, has a little more downward shift. The 198 was the most to the left, but our 197 and our Gold Dot are pretty much all spot on at 25 yards. Here is our Speer Gold Dot. We're using our CMMG with the 8-inch barrel in the Caldwell Hydro Sled for best mileage here. 0.44 inches at 25 yards. We also shot 0.77, would have been really close to that second group had I had not pulled that one right there. But very respectable accuracy at 25 yards. May open up a little around 50 yards, but with your 5.7 engagement probably should be at 100 yards or under with this type of cartridge. But I'd say really impressive. Okay, folks, now time for the fun stuff. We have our clear ballistics gel block, this 6x6x16, 10% down at about 12 feet. We have the slow-mo going. We have the chronograph. Hopefully it reads. We had a little bit of rain, so hopefully it didn't mess up with the sensors. We'll start with the shortest barrel length first, our Ruger 5.7. We'll take another shot with the CMMG with the 8-inch, check out our results, and then try a couple different barriers. Velocity was an error. We have our averages from earlier, which should do pretty nicely for what we're trying to do. It might be because I wasn't in the middle of the block too. Error again. But that one was right in the center. Let's go see what we did. Just one of those days. I do not have the gimbal in the shot, so forgive me. The top wound track is from the Ruger. The bottom is from the CMMG. Pretty good disruption early on. It does settle down around the 8-inch mark. Our 8-inch goes to almost 16 inches. I'd say it's 15.5. Our Ruger made it to about 17, almost 18. Looks like it stretched back a little bit there. We'll pull these projectiles out in a minute, and then we'll try them against denim. I brought some denim and different cloth to mess with. Even though we're not getting good function out of the 16-inch, we have it. So we'll fire a single round just to see what the gel results are going to give us. Still didn't get a velocity reading, but we're in the block, so we should be good. Got a fresh block up here, but there is our 16-inch. Pretty typical there with wound cavity. Right around the 12-inch mark, it actually takes a dive, hits our table, but then bounced out to the 16-inch mark. I'd be curious if it would have penetrated more past that had it not hit the table. Maybe we'll take a shot off camera just to see, and then I'll just report the results if they're different. But at least it's very consistent throughout the different barrel lengths. Little different wound this time from the 16-inch. It's on the top. Pretty decent cavity right there. I wonder if this bullet is tumbling as it's penetrating. We make it to right around the 15-inch mark, and it expanded again. Very interesting design. Like I said, very consistent. Top-down shot here. Pretty wide wound cavity up front. All right, before we step up to our body armor, We're gonna try some really heavy clothing that I had some extra 2-ounce denim left and some like Cordura type fabric. I'm not sure what the thread count on it is, but I basically got 10 layers of fabric down there. We'll see what this is gonna do. We'll start with the Ruger. This is kind of awkward to use this little bench thing here. I can see the block smoking down there. I'm not really concerned about the wound track on this point. I'm just trying to see if they expand. Let's go see what we did. I'll have to take another shot off camera with the Ruger 5.7, but here was our shot intermingled with this other one, and it actually penetrated the entire 16 inches of the block, and it hit our bench there. The CMMG, our shot is right around there. We go out to about the 16-inch mark, and I do see some expansion. We'll pull that out of there in a second. We'll take another shot with the Ruger off camera. Here was the second off camera shot with the Ruger 5.7. There is our gold dot. We got some expansion, but not complete expansion. And we're about 4 inches into the other block. So around 20 inches of penetration with that heavy clothing. Our Ruger 5.7 on the left, the CMMG on the right. Very consistent out of the CMMG. Little under expansion on the Ruger, but that's a pretty thick set of clothing to go through. Here is another interesting barrier that we've tested in the past. We have two 22 gauge pieces of sheet metal. I can't find 20 gauge, I think is what the FBI spec calls for, but I have them 3.5 inches apart, and then 18 inches behind that is our gel. Now here comes the fun part, is me trying to figure out where to hit this to land a spot on our gel. But we'll try. I should be good right under this dot. Didn't get a velocity reading, but we have our averages. We'll go see if we hit our target. So here was our shot right here. Hopefully this testing video does not get too long. Here is the backside, here is the exit. Pretty much standard sheet metal exit there. And guess what, folks? We hit the block. Yeah, buddy. Right there, this lower track is our little guy there. We have some disruption starting around the 7 to 10 inch mark. Sorry about this. And look at 17 inches. There is our bullet. A little pinch zoom here. You can see this is typical with certain types of bullet profiles that sheet metal jacket gets stuck on the end of the bullet and causes it not to really deform or expand anyway. But interesting, 16 plus inches, not bad. Sorry that this block is hard to see. I'll swap this block out for a different one and make this the backup block for the longer barrel shot. And now our 8-inch test. Same sheet metal, same 18-inch spread there. See if we can get a spot. Didn't get a velocity reading that I can think of. We have our averages, so that's good enough. We'll go check out what we did. Hey, we hit the block. This is a fresh remelt. We have some upset pretty early on. Pretty decent looking wound track. Hopefully the gimbal stops trying to decide what it wants to do by itself and stay where I told it to. Right around the 14-inch mark, we dive down and looks like we bounce off the steel plate here, and there is our round right about 17 inches. I have a feeling that had that not dived down, we probably could have saw a few more inches of penetration, because that does take some energy out of the bullet when it hits that. But that's pretty impressive wound track. All right, our final test for today is some body armor. We have an AR-500 Armor R.A.N.G.E level 3 down there. We have a nice, cool little stand to help prop that piece of body armor on the front of our ballistics gel. We have a fresh ballistics gel block. We'll take both shots and then go see what he did. I didn't see that move. That might be a good thing or a bad thing. And then we'll take the 16-inch shot. Let's go see what we did. When our body armor doesn't go flying off our test rig, that's usually a good sign for us. There was our Ruger 5.7 shot and the CMMG. What do you guys think? Ruh-oh, R.A.N.G.E. penetration and ample penetration depth. This was the Ruger, right around 14 inches. There is the CMMG back there, probably right around 12. Ample wound track there. You can see some of the Kevlar fibers in there. Now, like I said, that is a 100% aramid fiber construction. So if we step up to the R.A.N.G.E, or sorry, we step up to the hybrid, that has some polyethylene behind it. Here is the back side of the panel. You can see that those fibers tried to stop it, but they couldn't. This guy right here on the left is the Ruger, and that is the CMMG. Tried to stop it. Hopefully through the magic of video editing, this doesn't seem too crazy, but this was the panel that I actually shot first. This is their hybrid model. You can see some of the polyethylene there. Our shot was there, and there is no penetration, so that polyethylene caused that bullet to expand out. I incorrectly named this panel when I shot it, so interesting. So the polyethylene stopped it, so probably an all polyethylene plate would stop it as well. Well, now that you've stuck around for a whole 30 minutes, it's time for our closer. Our summary review here at the end of our video includes the expansion and penetration depths of our Gold Dot in bare gel. We had really good accuracy with this load at 25 yards. I mentioned it many times in the video, but this bullet seems very consistent, at least in all of the test mediums that I was able to test in this time frame. We didn't get a chance to test windshield glass, but if you guys think that that's something we could follow up on, always drop a comment below and we could maybe do a follow-up video. Just so I don't make this video too overly long, we'll roll in all the macro shots of the recovered bullets as I'm talking so that you guys have something to look at, and I'll include the different lengths and measurements of those recovered rounds as we're doing it. I'm not sure how valid my heavy clothing test is. I used 10 ounces of the denim as well as the heavy duty cloth Cordura-like material, but it seemed to provide a little bit of resistance for that bullet. I was really surprised at the level 3A armor penetration out of this round. That could be why SS-197 has been dialed back throughout the years to be right around 1,700 feet per second versus the 1,750 that it used to be. I would personally like to see this Speer Gold Dot load upped a little bit velocity-wise in our pistol. Would like to see 1,800 to 1,900 feet per second if pressures would allow it. based on the longer barrel results, we still had really good expansion and penetration with that larger bullet. I'm still not sure why we had troubles running the PS90. I swapped to a second magazine and went back on a different day to check the velocity and feeding again. I don't know if it's just that bullet profile. You can see from a close-up shot here, part of the nose of the bullet is smashed in a little bit from where these bullets jammed. Overall, I feel the Speer 5.7 Gold Dot is an adequate self-defense personal protection round. Given that qualification, the extra velocity that this round packs at those distances could aid in wounding. However, I still feel that the Vanguard Outfitters Black Dragon Fang or Elite Ammunition's T6B or their Devastator 3.0 are on the top of my list for preferred rounds in this caliber. If you had a choice between SS198 LF, which is the green tip 28 grain OTM, and this Speer loading in 5.7 for your choice, if the under-penetrating SS198 LF concerns you, right around 9 to 10 inches of penetration, then definitely choose this Gold Dot over the SS197, the SS198, or even the American Eagle TMJ. If you're looking for an expanding round in 5.7 and don't want to exceed so many inches of penetration, then R&R Weapon Systems, they're another smaller 5.7 loading company. They make an all-copper R37X, which is X for expanding round, that does very nicely from what I've tested prior. As I prepare to do that restart for updates, I'd like to take a moment to thank my Patreon supporters. This ammunition is currently at a very large premium. I paid basically $80 a box for this stuff, and that was a good chunk of my monthly income to make that happen. So until next time, I'll catch you at the range. And the 8-inch barrel almost squeaked